कभी तो आए।
एक गवर्नमेंट की स्कूल है, हम बच्चे को वहां दाखिल करने को तैयार नहीं है। पता नहीं यार मास्टर जी कैसे होंगे, क्या पढ़ाएंगे, भरोसा नहीं है, तो मैं प्राइवेट स्कूल में जाता हूँ।
Our problem is not joblessness. It is a lack of training and skills. Why should a mother sleep at night worrying about whether her brilliant child will find a school to go to?
We are woefully short of facilities to educate every child in this country. It's a huge demand and supply issue.
We have a very poor primary school system. We have a very poor, almost dismantled secondary school system. So can you sustain higher education without the nursery which feeds it?
हमने स्कूल खोला, आउटले हुआ, स्कूल बन गया, आउटकम हुआ, लेकिन जब तक उस गांव के बच्चे पढ़ते नहीं हैं, पढ़ करके आते नहीं हैं, तब तक सोशियो इकोनॉमिकल इम्पैक्ट हुआ कि नहीं हुआ, उसका ध्यान नहीं जाता है।
Today we are mortgaging our future because large parts of our education and training are based on defunct ideas. Ideas that are no longer relevant.
और हमें दुनिया के पास जो मॉडर्न टेक्नोलॉजी है लेनी पड़ेगी, दुनिया के पास आधुनिक विज्ञान है, ज्ञान है, उसको लेना पड़ेगा।
Certainly we have the seeds of a world-class education.
वो सुबह आई।
Hello and welcome to Change India, an agenda for the next Prime Minister. Today in the second show of our series, we have 10 policy initiatives that will enable the next Prime Minister to almost revolutionize India's sluggish education sector. These have been culled from recommendations made by a group of experts, and you can get all the details from our website thinkindia.in.com. Joining us in the studio are three of these distinguished contributors. We have Mr. Madhav Chavan, activist and founder president of Pratham, the largest NGO working in India's education sector. Ashish Dhawan, he is a private equity whiz turned education philanthropist who now runs the Central Square Foundation. We have Harsh Srivastav, who has been in the government with the Prime Minister office and the Planning Commission and is now the COO of the Centre for Civil Society, a prominent think tank. And joining us on a satellite link from Mumbai is Manish Sabharwal, serial entrepreneur and founder of TeamLease, India's largest temporary employment company. And with them of course, is our very own Dheeraj Nair, who has anchored the project for Think India. We also have an audience in the studio, among whom are some people who have actively pitched into the debate on Twitter and on our website. I would urge all of you to contribute to future editions on Twitter and our website, and we would be delighted to invite you to participate in the upcoming shows. So let's get on with the first point on our agenda, and this is a very straight, sharp one. We should be permitting for-profit institutions at all levels. If we can do it in health, if we can do it in electricity, why can't we do it in education? Mr. Chavan.
Well, it's not a question of permitting. We've already permitted. Now it's a matter of legalizing it. People are running educational institutions which are making profit, except they're not saying it's profit.
Right.
The trick is I start a not-for-profit and then I ask Ashish to give me management services, and he charges what he wants and he makes the profit, and perhaps by the back door I get the profit as well. I think this is hypocrisy. It's happened all over, it's been growing, and so like we try to work against smuggling, I think we need to say, okay, for-profit is fine. But I think
why should we do it? Why should we do it with such suspicion? Why should we not embrace it as something which is legitimate?
No.
Why should we do it only because it's happening by subterfuge? So accept it.
I'm not suspicious about it. The point is, you have to also protect the consumer.
Right.
Because I don't think all for-profits are actually delivering the goods.
Right.
So once somebody is going for profit, then that person also, that institution should also be covered by the consumer laws, for example.
Sure.
So I think there needs to be a clear separation between not-for-profit and for-profit.
The case
In
for
any
strong
business.
regulation in any for-profit industry is a given. I mean, that's absolutely. Other than that, you have no. We should have no other objection.
Well, there are implications to what happens when a society is divided like this. Today in India, about 60%, 65% urban children are going to private schools already.
Right.
They are for-profit, not-for-profit, whatever. And in the rural areas, about 30% children are going to private schools. So there is a large proportion of Indian children
almost more than 50%
schools.
are going to private schools.
Already going to private schools.
Right.
And there is a definite implication of what this does
Right.
in a community, in poor villages also, that complete separation. But that has to be dealt with. I don't think we can put the genie back in and say, let all girls schools be government. You can't do that.
Let me go across to Manish Sabharwal in Mumbai. Manish, you'd like to pitch into this debate. If we are going to now legalize these for-profit institutions, your sense of how we should be running them?
Well, I mean, 90% of school and engineering capacity in the last 20 years has been for profit. Unfortunately, as Madhav said, on paper it's non-profit, which creates an adverse selection among education entrepreneurs. See, most education entrepreneurs have either been politicians or criminals or landlords. A teacher can't start a school because in a capital-intensive business you can't raise capital. So I think the biggest case for legalizing or formalizing it is ending the adverse selection among education entrepreneurs. We've just got the wrong kind of people and in many cases setting up educational institutions. The second one, I think, which is more important is unfortunately in India our rights as consumers are higher than our rights as citizens. So this is not an argument against government schools, it's just that as consumers our parents are able to demand more, so the free schools versus what they should be, what they are on paper. And the third one is there's no reason to be allowing these for-profit institutions to not pay taxes.
Any quick point, Ashish?
Yeah, I would say, the cat's out of the bag in the Indian context, and we know that government has abdicated its responsibility. So if we were to say let's do away with the private sector, we're going to end up being in a much worse condition. So I totally agree with Madhav. We should legalize it. I, as a private equity investor, we never touched education because we were always worried about the regulatory sword hanging over this sector.
Right.
So
what is the possible rationale of the government? Let's look at it from the other point of view in not allowing for-profit institutions. As Mr. Chavan said, they are there, but legally not there. Why?
I think the belief is that it's a public good, and so people are doing this.
But so is electricity.
For the greater good of society.
Health. My point is, all of these are public goods. You allow for-profit there, you don't allow it in education. Can I get you in on this?
See, the government's state government's thinking is that education is a social good more than a public good,
right?
And it is something that it links to what is the fundamental role of government, because all the reforms say government should focus on what it does best, and when it comes back to what does government do best, law, order, education and health. So if the government is abdicating everything else, then at least these three things are what so far all the debate says what government's role is. But the challenge, if you allow for profit, is also that it allows schools to respond to changing needs. If there is a local demand for something new, they can add something, they can get teachers quickly. If technology is changing, if the curriculum requires to be changed. So one of the advantages of having for-profit is allows flexibility in schools. It allows you to set out what the economy needs.